Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Orange Power Podcast as we continue to push on, and just one game left in the regular season, and then it's on to Kansas City as we welcome you in. And, Coach, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, again, you and I talked about this in the pregame the other day for the West Virginia game. Some ways it feels like it was yesterday we just started. Some ways it feels like it was 2 years ago that this season started. It's been such a mixed bag. It really is kind of interesting when you put this one in perspective.
Yeah, well, I told you, especially with us having that foreign tour and starting practices back in June, it has made for an extra long season because we've been really, started in June, played in August, got right back to school, and then kind of picked it back up again. So it has been a very long season in a lot of ways, but also it always goes so fast. It just, I think the months of January are always feel like a year long, but then February just flies by, and now here we are already, in March. So no, it's gone really fast, slow at times, but definitely quick at the same time.
The days are slow, the years are long,
That's
right?
right.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. I mean, has been that. So let's recap the last week. Obviously, we went down to Norman and took on a very good Oklahoma team. You said it earlier, you don't like to give them credit. They just won the conference, right? They won the conference by beating a very good Texas team as well. You guys went down there and faced a really good Oklahoma team. We're in it at halftime. That third quarter kind of was our undoing.
Yeah, no, we were, let's just call it what it is. We were awful. That was by far the worst game of my career here at Oklahoma State. And I absolutely hate that it was against them. Just want to apologize to our fans because I know how much that one means, and we never want to lose, but certainly not in that fashion. But, it's really important for us to keep perspective, and for me as the leader of our team to keep perspective that single game is not in any way, shape, or form who we've been this season. That has never happened to us. Even in the games that we've lost, we've been very, very competitive. And that was the first time that we really weren't. So it was important for us just to, recognize that, flush it, if you will, move on as quick as possible, because that's just not who we are.
But the thing about this team has been the absolute resilientness to be able to take whatever is in front of them, what energy or whatever injury, whatever that has been, and then to come back, from the following the Houston game. That was not your best moment this year either, and you follow that up terrifically. So you take that game and then you go, well, wow, you got a really good West Virginia team coming in here. What are you going to do? Well, what you guys did is went out and controlled the game the entire time. The ability of these kids to recollect themselves and go out there the next time has just been really, really good to see this season.
It has. They've had a great maturity about them in that sense. And, I mean, I try and really establish at the beginning of the year, the season is a marathon, and there's going to be some really high highs. There's going to be some really low lows. And you just got to find a way to kind of keep getting it back to neutral, if you will. So, like I said, we talked after that OU game and just talked about how we want to respond. We had a lot to play for against West Virginia because it was senior night, our last home game. And honestly, a lot of pride that we took one on the chin pretty good. And so how do you want to respond to that? I'm not the type who is going to make excuses or stay down when I get hit, and I certainly want my players to follow me in that. So, and they have, and they certainly did in that West Virginia game. West Virginia is a very good team, a team that beat OU. So it was a great way for our kids to bounce back and just send our seniors out on a good note, and really kind of just give a warm thank you back to our fans for sticking with us.
It's interesting too, Coach. Part of what makes this a long season is going to be some inconsistency. So to be able to perform like that and go win and beat West Virginia was huge. But we've also come off some good wins, and then had that loss came behind it. So how do you going into this last one in a very tough environment in Waco? How do you get your team, okay, let's quit going back and forth. Let's just stay right where we are because we're in a good spot.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that sometimes people don't realize has to do with matchups. It's not necessarily that you're playing poorly or not in a good headspace or any of that. I mean, I'll just go back to OU. That's a terrible matchup for us, if I'm being honest, because we are, playing a lot through our post. They're wanting to run and gun and play incredibly fast. They've got the fastest, paced offense in the country. Well, for us, when not only are we trying to slow it down and play in the half court, we're doing that because of our limited bodies. So a lot of it is like people don't understand. Yeah, it's not necessarily your team playing poorly. It's just it has to do with style of play. It has to do with matchups. We've been playing very, very shorthanded all season long. Against West Virginia, we were able to take back control of the game and really make it a half-court game. And so Baylor's going to be no different. We're going to obviously ride the high, take the momentum that we've got from West Virginia. But it's also just about us trying to really control it and play the way that we want to.
Well, and you guys did such a good job in that zone. I mean, West Virginia were baited into taking a lot of threes, didn't have necessarily a great day shooting. And Baylor's the same kind of team that you might be able to do that with. Can we expect to see more of that 2-3 zone?
Yeah, definitely. And not by choice. I'm not really I am not a zone girl by nature. I am not a slow it down coach by nature, but that's what we have to do. And I'm always gonna, kind of set my pride aside, because sometimes it is you as a coach, you just want to do what you want to do, and you want to teach and coach what you know best. But because of our limited bodies and just trying to preserve the kids' legs who are playing for 40 minutes. I mean, we've got about 3 kids who are dang near averaging 40 minutes a game. By this time of the year, that is a lot of wear and tear on a body. The kids that we have coming off the bench are injured. So how can we help them? Okay, let's sit back in a zone. Let's be active in the zone, but let's make some adjustments. So I think you can certainly anticipate that moving forward.
You bring up an interesting question, though, too, when you talk about matchups. And, obviously matchups have been the key for years, right? It's a key in every sport, and it's a key in every conference. But with all the new teams coming in, and with the teams that are still going to be here next year, how do you recruit to be able to handle all the styles of plays and matchup? Do you look at the top teams and go, okay, we have to match up here? Do you just go get the best bodies? Because you can't match up against everybody, right? There's too many teams and too many styles.
Right.
So what's the philosophy there?
Well, I think for me, it's just I have to do what I know best, and obviously we're always going to try and get the best kids that we can. So I think that's where maybe some coaches might go for more of like a system type kid. We certainly want to find the right fit. But if we can get the best, highest level player, we're always going to try and do that. But I think that for us here, we just really want to stick to what we do best. We're not trying to beat anyone at their own game or really even focus on anyone else. It's about, me teaching and coaching things that I know best, and not trying to be someone that I'm not just for the sake of maybe beating a team. If I have some decisions to make that, we think, okay, how can we, compete with the top? We want to be the top.
Sure,
so there's, it's like you have a choice to make. Do you want to set the standard and be the team that everyone's trying to beat, or do you want to try and just hang in there? We want to be at the top. But if you have choices to make, what's the best way to guard this or that, you always make those smaller decisions within the course of a season. But in general, we just want to be who we are and make other people adjust to us.
Well, again, it's so hard, though. You see so many styles of play in this league, which it just becomes an interesting dynamic that you guys obviously deal with in the offseason. We're going to talk a lot more about it next week, Coach. But, again, headed to Baylor, then to Kansas City, and I know that's a place that's very near and dear to your heart.
Yes, I always look forward to going back there. It's a place that, I spent 5 years of my life, and UMKC gave me my first head coaching job, and I grew a lot there, have a lot of fond memories. The Chiefs are there, of course. celebrating another Super Bowl. So, no, I'm excited to get back. Good food, good sports, good memories.
I will tell you that. You set me on some good food there. You know the spots
Yeah.
up there, which is awesome, and we'll talk a lot more about that this week. Coach, best of luck against Baylor. Appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time
Thank
right
you.
here. And we'll catch you guys next time as well. For Coach Jacie Hoyt, I'm Casey Kendrick. See you next time on the Orange Power Podcast.